Hey guys, welcome to my channel, and welcome to the video where I rank every story from season 1 of American Horror Stories. If this is the first time you're tuning into my channel, hi, my name is Scott. I do reactions to a lot of horror anthologies, so there's a reaction to every episode of season 1 of American Horror Story over on my channel. There's a playlist with all of them in. There's only 7 episodes, so it's not a very big playlist, but I will definitely be doing series 2 when that starts, probably late next year, I imagine. I guess overall I just wanted to say about this series that I did enjoy it. There's no episodes that I hated. There's episodes that I definitely liked more than others. There's some that I think were really good, some really strong ones, a couple that weren't that strong. But overall, I took enjoyment out of every episode to some degree, which we'll get into in just a moment. But let me know down below in the comments what your ranking is, what your list is, from your least favourite to your favourite. I'd be interested to see if other people have a very similar opinion to me. Looking at some of the ratings on like Rotten Tomatoes, my opinion is very similar to some, but not all people. Yeah, I'm really excited to see other people's opinions, and I like it when people have a favourite or a couple of favourites that are in my bottom. I always find that really fascinating. I like to discuss why people don't like certain ones that I do and vice versa. Just a bit of a caveat for this ranking: if you've watched any of my rankings before on my channel, if there's a 2-part story in an anthology season, I always count it as one episode. So I'll be counting it from number 6, my least favourite, to number 1, my favourite. 6 stories. It's not going to be a very long video, so let's jump into it. But before we start, if you like this video, please leave a comment down below and let me know what your thoughts are. If you enjoy the video and what your ranking is. Like I say, there's a list in my channel if you want to watch the reactions to all 7 episodes. Now let's jump into my ranking of every episode of season 1 of American Horror Stories. My least favourite episode of the season, I think it's quite a common one for most people, the naughty list. Now, like I said before, there's no episode here that I hate. I just didn't like this one for a lot of reasons. I think it set out to achieve something and achieved it really well, and it focused on social media influencers and how despicable they can be and how they profit from other people's misery. And I think it hit that really well and really achieved what it wanted to achieve. The problem was they hit it so well that it was just frustrating to watch. These 4 characters, as fit as most of them were, they were just so hard to watch because they were so real life in some ways, and it seems odd and a shame that those kind of people exist nowadays, that we're in a world where those people are millionaires, but it's true. And the frustration watching them get enjoyment from the guy committing suicide at the beginning to then tormenting other people, doing worse stuff, doing the no homo and all that stuff, whilst it is real life to some YouTubers, we've all seen them, it was just really hard to watch. And I think what would have been better maybe is if they'd done the suicide bit at the beginning, we could see how awful they were, and then start to unpack their friendship a bit more throughout, and they get killed one at a time. So whilst the ending was great and really satisfying watching them get killed one by one, I love slashers, but maybe it would have been better if they were killed throughout the course of the episode. We see a beginning, we see they're awful, let's one by one kill them off, and we see how that starts to actually make their channel better. Rather than it being a quick few minutes at the end where, boom, they're all dead, I would have maybe stretched it out over the episode, with Santa being in a bit more often because Danny Trejo, legend. But it was a good episode in the sense that it did what it wanted to achieve, and I give it credit for that. It showed us these 4 awful people, one who was questioning it but still went along with it, and we hated them, we hated them, we hated them. It was satisfying when they died, but like I say, it spent so much time making us hate these characters that it did take the episode a little bit. So last place for me in season 1 American Horror Stories, the naughty list. Okay, in 5th place, I've gone for the first 2 episodes of the season, Rubber Woman Part 1 and 2. Now, I'm not going to lie, when I found out the first 2 episodes were about Murder House, I was a little disappointed because it's an anthology show. I want new stories. Even if it's in the same universe, I want new stories. Now, whilst it was new characters at Murder House, it did start a retread the same grounds that we've had before. People move into Murder House, interact with the ghosts, fall in love with the ghosts, get killed by a ghost. Oh wait, some characters did anyway. A rubber man appears, kills some more people. So it did retread a lot of the same ground that we've already had before. And so it wasn't the most original story. I did like following the story of the main girl. I want to say she's called Scarlet, but I don't think she was. I have no idea what she was called. The main girl with the red hair who was donning the Rubber Woman suit. I liked that initially anyway. I thought it was kind of interesting and how she used the things to her advantage with getting back at the bullies. I was on board. Where it started to kind of trail apart for me was episode 2. I just didn't really care about a lot of the stuff that was going on when it was just like, oh, we're all ghosts, we can't leave. Like, I know, we've been there before. And as hot as that contractor was, I was interested in watching the husband's interaction with the contractor, were they cheating, were they not cheating? Oh yeah, he's cheating. And then the death and stuff, that was kind of interesting, kind of funny. It just started to kind of It started to focus on this romance between the girl, again, my channel, terrible with names, the girls who fell in love, the two girls, the one who was dead, the one who was not dead. Like I said, if you watch my reactions, I just don't care about those two. I found it really unbelievable. As much as that girl was kind of psycho, she cared about her parents. She was annoyed with the fact that her parents weren't showing her attention. So I found it unbelievable that then when they were killed, she was so blasé about the whole thing. Like, oh, I love you, you killed my parents, but it's okay. Like, I just found it a little much of a stretch. That wasn't good grammar. A little bit of a stretch. And whilst it had some interesting parts in the first two episodes, and it was cool to see some little hints at characters that we've met before, some ghosts that we've seen before, it didn't really offer much new to me, to American Horror Story universe, to the murder house. It was just more ghosts to add to the plethora of ghosts that are already living there. We've got way too many ghosts that live there. It was good that the main ghost survived, I guess, because it was something a bit different. Normally, pretty much everyone that goes into that house gets killed. But yeah, it just didn't really wow me or shock me. It was interesting, some characters were good. Matt Bomer's beautiful as always, and it had some cool little twists. I like the revenge on the bullies, but it just didn't add a lot. So that's why it's like second lowest on the season for me. Rubber Woman Part 1, Part 2. In fourth place, going back to Murder House for the season finale, Game Over. Now this had a really cool concept. We're in Murder House, but characters from American Horror Story appearing that shouldn't be here. Addison, Twisty, for example, shouldn't be there, and a couple of other characters appeared. They shouldn't be here. Why are they here? Oh wait, it's a computer game. I am on board. I am sold, because whilst it didn't make a lot of sense, it was a cool little twist. And then we kind of came out of the computer game, and we were following the developer of the computer game as she went to see the real Murder House to get a feel for it, so she could make the computer game better for her son, who loves American Horror Story, but says like the computer game isn't too realistic to the show. Once we came out of the computer game and started going to Murder House, again, that's where the episodes start to fall apart and become like, oh, let's go to visit Murder House. Oh, the ghosts are here. We talk to the ghosts. We learn that they're still stuck there, which we already knew, and it's all traumatic, and they don't like being there, most of them, minus the girl, the leather-wearing girl from the beginning, who was the girlfriend of the redhead one. It's just, it started to retread the same Murder House story. I interact with a ghost at Murder House. I learn that they're not happy. I probably might have had sex with one of them. I get killed. I'm a ghost now. It was just like, right, we've been here before. Like, it had such a cool concept that it didn't have to be a Murder House episode. It could have been a computer game episode on American Horror Story. So like I said at the time, we kind of look at that first level, tweak it, but let's show other levels in other parts of the universe. But no, it was just Murder House, Murder House, Murder House. And whilst it was great to see Dylan McDermott back, again, I don't really care about Murder House anymore. It was a really good idea in Series 1. Interesting to go back to it in Series 8. But stop retreading the same ground. Too much of a good thing is not a good thing anymore. But again, they started to claw it back a little bit for me when the son was like, I'm going to destroy Murder House. We burn the Murder House down, the ghosts will leave. And I was like, alright, okay, we could be bringing Murder House to a close. Great, love it, tell me more. And the Murder House got burnt down. And it was cool because there was a really good scene where the one ghost that wanted to stay, which was the girl wearing the leather jacket, I'm so sorry, I'm so bad with names, wanted it to stay, as well as her girlfriend, and she was like running towards the guy trying to burn it down, while various different ghosts were like appearing to stop it. It felt a bit like, it's like the final round of Gladiator. If you ever watched the UK show Gladiator, I can't remember what it's called, the tournament style one, where this one guy has to get to the end of it, but various different people try and stop them. It was like that, and I thought that was pretty funny. But they burnt Murder House down, the ghost disappeared, some of them might have escaped, right? Cool, awesome. But then it had to bring it back to new flats got built on the same ground, and the girl moves in, the redhead girl moves in, and oh wait, there's still a ghost there. Like, they just can't let it go. It's a very Ryan Murphy thing for a lot of his shows, that he hits the same marks over and over and over again, and he can't just let something go. Glee's a perfect example, retreading the same storylines over and over. Let these characters go and do something different. Give them a satisfying end and let them go. But he can't do it. He just cannot do it. And this was an example of that. Like, ugh, the ghost still here. But we did learn that some of them might have escaped. The only ones that were there because they chose to stay there. Kind of interesting, I suppose. We could see ghosts elsewhere in the universe. And then it was a computer game again. Right, okay. And now I'm confused. Because it was like a second part of the computer game. But then we discovered that there was like the red ball in the flat, so maybe the computer game was real all along. That's when it started to get a bit mind-fucky, and what's real, what's not. It had some interesting parts of the episode. I just feel like they didn't want to stick to an ending for Murder House. The episode would have been a lot better if it either focused on the game stuff in American Horror Story, different parts of the universe, or they gave Murder House an ending and they burnt it down, and that was it. And we maybe learned that some of the ghosts escaped to leave open more stories potentially in the future, but they just couldn't let it die. And there's still ghosts there, whatever. The couple's still alive. Well, one of them is, one of them's dead. And the ghost is in the apartment potentially. And what's real, what's not. It's kind of Inception-y, kind of cool. But I just wish they would have given Murder House an ending. Okay, in top 3, in third place, I've gone for Drive-In. I really enjoyed this episode. This was the one that focused on a movie that turned people into feral, zombie-like creatures that just attacked. This was cool. I really enjoyed this because it was the first one of the season that was a unique story, not related to American Horror Story. I liked the drive-in setting, the fact that there was this movie and there was all these characters that we'd met watching this movie, and some of them were watching it, some of them weren't, and they instantly turned into these feral creatures. And it was just like a zombie movie, which aren't normally my favourite, but I think because I liked some of these characters, like the two boys that were kind of starting to hook up, minus the fact that he got his willy bitten off. I felt that was really painful. And the boyfriend and girlfriend that we were following from the beginning. There were some interesting characters that I was interested to see. Not necessarily that I loved all the characters, but I was interested to see how this kind of outbreak would affect them. But it was cool that this movie affected them so quickly, and they instantly turned into a rabid horde of people that were killing people, biting people's junk off, clawing people apart, and it affected the people that worked there. I just thought it was really cool and really atmospheric how it only affected this small group of people. But as we learned from the end of the episode, the movie got put onto Netflix and we panned out to the outside world, and we saw places exploding, screams, sirens going off, so we know that some part of this world, or at least America, whoever got the license on Netflix, whatever version of Netflix got this movie, is being torn apart. Now, what's interesting to me is how does this affect the overarching universe of American Horror Story? Because presuming that they all fit into the universe at some point, because they seem to with the 3 Murder House episodes. Well, we've seen the future in Apocalypse, and there was no talk of an outbreak, a zombie outbreak type thing. There was the Apocalypse was like a nuclear bomb thing, wasn't it? Maybe there's like a new timeline, because obviously they stopped that version of the Apocalypse happening. Maybe this could happen. Maybe they happened anyway, and it got stopped somehow. I do hope that they raise it again, and it is touched upon, maybe in Season 2. Hopefully Season 2 will be a bit longer. They might give us some more episodes that link to Series 1. Because I'd be interested to know how this works into the universe. Because it felt like it was designed to fit in there somehow, and the ending was so open that they've got a touch on it. That was cool. Like, potential apocalypse, but there may be ways to solve it, and maybe characters that we've met from different stories will be involved in it somehow, in like a team to fight back. They could bring in another character from an episode we're going to get to. But I really enjoyed it. I just found it, I liked that it was standalone. I liked that it was its own thing. It was a contained zombie movie that had potential repercussions for the American Horror Story verse. It was just spooky. The designs of the zombie creatures were great, and I had a really good time with it. That was Drive-In. In second place, the episode that for me could have been first place, with a few tweaks to the episode. If you watch my reactions, you know what it is. In second place, I put Feral. I loved it. It was so good. The feral creatures in particular, I thought were creepy, interesting. I want to know more about their setup, why the boy that was stolen is in charge, their communication, their home. I want to know more. The problem I had with the episode was the pacing was kind of off. Again, I talked about this in my reaction, but for those who didn't, I felt the start was a bit slow. Like, it took a while to get to the forest, but then it was boom, ambush, creatures, let's get back to the lodge with the ranger guy. And then it slowed down quite a lot while he just talked for about 5 minutes about why he's there, the government cover-up. I mean, it was very interesting, it was just kind of slow. And then it got to the ambush at the end, where the creatures attacked the lodge, and a really quick, fast-paced ending, which was great. But I just found it was a little off for me. I would rather it have been a bit of a slow upgrade, a bit more creepy creatures around the forest, and then high intensity towards the finale. Maybe have a bit of a slow, quick dip in the middle, which I know is what it did, but I felt like the ratio of Pace was a little off for me. They didn't really need to have the story about the guy that set them up for the money. They could have had someone that actually thought they saw the sun, which I think would have been more interesting. Then he got killed by these creatures, and it all hit the fan. I think that the story, like, oh, I betrayed you, I'm going to get some money for this, when it was obviously he was going to get killed for it, was kind of unnecessary, and a twist that it didn't need to have. But my god, the ending was cool and creepy, and the creatures were so visually interesting. There was ones that were crawling on the floor, there was really tall, imposing creatures, there was ones that were hobbling around with these weird looking limbs. Again, we saw the sun, he was their leader, he was on a throne of bones. Why is he their leader? Why did they kidnap him? I could see they kidnapped him because they need more people to join their clan. Why is he in charge? I don't know. I want to know more about this world. This is the top 3, all ones I want to see more of. Set more stories in this world with these characters involved, or at least hinting at links or touching on links or telling us more about these creatures. I want to see more about these creatures, the feral creatures. They did give them a name. You know me, I don't know what that name was, but they were so creepy and so cool. A couple of shots that I noticed when I rewatched it, of them in the background, which I couldn't see because it was dark and bare, so that is terrible. But I adore the shots, 2 shots in particular. One, when they're on the stumps in the trees as they walk past the beginning, the middle part sort of, and one's in the tree in the foreground, we see that turn its head. At the same time, one that they walk right past is on a stump, that turns its head as well, but you don't necessarily notice it until it turns its head. But also that shot of the ranger, Cody Fern's character, when it's in the lodge on the phone, and it pans up, and we see on the ceiling behind it, it's one of the creatures, and it jumps down, and it scared me. I think both shots scared me a little bit, actually. But yeah, I wanted more of that sort of stuff that was so creepy. Yeah, really good episode. Second place, Feral. As usual, if you're keeping track, you know what my top place episode is. My favourite episode of Season 1 of American Horror Stories was BAAL with Billy Lord. This was so good. Whereas Feral was a great story and I loved it, but the pacing kind of put me off, and they focused on some stuff like that guy that set them up, which I didn't think was necessary. BAAL was great all the way through, and the twists were greatly timed, and it shocked me, and a couple of twists, and so good. So it was about Billy Law's character who wanted to have a baby, but she couldn't conceive and was given this fertility god statue by this receptionist who would help her conceive, and she did. And Billy Law's character and her husband were dealing with the fact that she was struggling with depression after the birth of the child, and wasn't really connected with it, but through someone she met, she started to get close to it, and all along there's this weird undercurrent of this. She keeps hearing this demon-y voice, she keeps seeing things on the monitors, and just hearing these things talking to her, and it's creepy. Is this demon, the statue that she used, haunting the baby? Is it trying to reclaim its child or something like that? What's going on? And it turns out, all along, after she goes crazy, conducts this spell, and stabs her husband in the process, turns out he was behind it all. Him and his friends were trying to make her go crazy so that she would get locked up, so that she could hand over her rights to her assets or whatever to the husband, because he was super bloody rich, and him and his friends wanted the money. Awful people. They called themselves like the Gaslighters. We could do a whole show where every episode we gaslight another character and make them go crazy. And like, these people were horrendous. If it was just like the husband doing it by himself, I would have been like, oh, what absolute arse. What a dick. But the fact that it was a whole group of people that were willingly going to make this woman go crazy and do something awful so that they could get our money. What a horrible group of people. But it was perfectly timed how he came out of the hospital that she was in, she was locked in, and got in the car. That woman's like, oh my god, he's cheating on it, oh my god, they're behind it. And it turns out they're all behind it, but guess what? The demon's real. The demon has come after them, and it turns out there was a real element to it all along. And not just that, but she knew what she was doing. She actually did summon the demon in the mental asylum. She kept that spell. She kind of put 2 and 2 together, and she started to summon that demon. And so it was a really great little scene where the demon was killing them all. Like, ripped out one guy's spine like Predator. God, that was gross, but it's so cool. And the demon killed all of those people, and it was so satisfying. Well, it killed all of them except the husband, who got arrested for all the murders, and in the process he admitted that he'd set up all the stuff about the woman. So she got out, she went to visit him in prison in this like sexy outfit and a big hat. She's like, I'm not going to help you get out. He's like, help me please, I didn't do this. It was a demon, I saw it. She's like, I know. And she was so badass. And then, another twist on top of that, she's keeping that like devil demon trapped so that he gives her an actual child, another child, and gets her pregnant. Oh my god. She's like a demon master that wants to get pregnant by it. There were just so many twists that were just really well executed, well done, and I just really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the twists, the shocks, the gore, the emotions. I really believed Billie Lourd as this woman that was struggling and losing her sanity, and also I believed it as this demon master witch mama that was in charge and getting revenge. It was so well done, such a good episode, loved every part of it, and that was BAAL, my favourite episode of season 1 of American Horror Stories. Okay, that's it. That's my ranking done of all 7/6 episodes of American Horror Stories season 1. Let me know down below in the comments what you thought of the ranking. Did you agree? Did you not agree? I think from looking at some of the responses on some of the comments I've had, as well as looking on like Rotten Tomatoes and stuff, it seems quite a common consensus that Naughty List was pretty bad in a lot of people's opinions. The first two I think's got quite a low score on Rotten Tomatoes, so I think like elements of what I did was going to be similar to other people's, but I don't know if everyone's favourite is BAAL or not. We'll have to wait and see. So let me know down below if you agree, if you don't agree, what your favourite is, what your least favourite is. I'm interested to know if it's something completely different to mine and why, because I find that really, really fascinating. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. I will be doing Series 2 next year, hopefully, when it airs. I won't be doing any reactions to the American Horror Story Series 10, but I talked about that in my reaction to the finale of Series 1 of this show. So if you're interested to know why, take a look over there. But yeah, I really enjoyed this season. I'm excited to see where Series 2 goes. I'm excited to see if any link across, which I didn't want them to initially. I want them all to be separate stories, but now that I've seen some little stories that they've had, I want to see more. So yeah, I'm very, very, very excited for Series 2 and to see how they improve on Series 1. Thanks for watching. As always, my name is Scott. I hope you guys are well. If you enjoyed the video, please leave some comments down below. Take a look at my channel, where there's a reaction to every episode of Series 1, and there's a Patreon link down below if you want to help support that channel. Thanks for watching. Take care, and I'll see you all very soon for the next episode of whatever it is on my channel you want to watch. Bye guys, take care, stay safe.